I'm a struggling writer and failed actress, so what the fuck do I know about cultivating creativity? Well, I finally took a step back after 10 years of basically waitressing instead of doing anything creative, and I worked a shit ton on my inner child, and that is the perspective I'm taking on today's video. There are two big indicators that I have found for myself that I'm blocking my creative flow and the quality of my creative ideas. I had a history of putting my creativity in a box. I really wanted a film career, and so I was only writing screenplays and the occasional short film and web series. Now, there's nothing wrong with that inherently, but it didn't feel good to me day to day. What feels good to me is to jump around and work on what I feel like for the day and have a lot of different projects going on at once. And I wasn't listening to that because I had a lot of ego identity wrapped up in being a filmmaker and being a screenwriter. And once I started to unpack that and saying like, oh, I don't need to just be that. Like, I'm still great if I never write a screenplay again. It opened up this world of other things that I can put my creative energy into that also feel good, and my days look so much better and so much happier, and the creative ideas flow so much easier. I know for myself that I need a day or two, or at least a little bit of time to take away from step away from a project and come back to it and see it in a new light and have better ideas. And this model helps me so much. When we try and put our creativity into a box and it doesn't feel good, meaning we're exhausted by it or we're resenting it, we're not enjoying most of the process, but we still want to continue doing it, we still feel driven to do it, sometimes that drive isn't actually a motivating factor insofar as we're running towards something, but we're actually running away from something. So for my own example of being very attached to being like a screenwriter and a filmmaker, I finally took a step back, and through journaling and meditation, I did what if scenarios. So what if I never became successful as a screenwriter? What if that never panned out and it never worked out? How would I feel? Well, a lot of negative stuff came up, a lot of negative thoughts. You're a piece of shit, you're a loser, you're never going to amount to anything, you're insignificant. That was a lot of stuff to work on in my psyche, and showed me that like, oh, I'm not running towards something. Screenwriting in this form of creativity is not like coming from a place of joy that I want to share with others. I'm just running from difficult emotions. So once I had more clarity around that, I was able to just sit with it, let my brain call the other part of me a piece of shit for a while, and then it just started to release. And then when I didn't have such a strong attachment to screenwriting specifically, I found that I still enjoyed it, I still wanted to do it, but I also had other creative pursuits that I wasn't allowing myself to enjoy because I had so much ego attached to screenwriting specifically. So once that started to loosen up, that attachment started to loosen up a little bit, I found joy in writing a book and doing YouTube videos. And now my days look like I get to jump around, I get to work on what I want to, everything is flowing better and feels so much better. And I also finally noticed that when I take time away from a project, a day or two, that I come back to it with new eyes. I mean, duh, but I come back to it with new eyes, and I have so much more perspective, and I can change a lot of things that I wouldn't have seen and I wouldn't have changed as quickly if I had been working on it day in and day out. It's like I'm too close to it, I can't see it. Second way that we can stifle our creativity is, I like to think of creative projects as an extension of my inner child. And that is kind of what they are, little creative babies. And this can be difficult depending on how much awareness you have around your own inner child. But it is also at the same time sometimes easier to look at something slightly more external, like a creative project, which can be, you're looking at something outside of yourself and you can watch the thoughts that you think. For example, when I was working on a screenplay a couple years ago, I remember having this overwhelming feeling that the screenplay just felt like a burden. Like, why, like, I kept running into issues, and I remember thinking, like, why does it have to be so fucking difficult? What a burden. Like, why can't you just be easier? And I was doing a lot of inner child work at the time, and a light bulb kind of went off of like, how can an inanimate thing be a burden? Well, it can't. I'm projecting onto it because I'm having to take care of it and I'm creating it, that it's my child and I have expectations on it. It should be easy. It should be flowing. I shouldn't have these difficult feelings around it. So what did I do? I went into a meditation and saw my younger self and took the feelings that I was feeling towards my creative project and kind of brought it inwards to heal it. Whatever feels best at the time. Maybe I just need to be held, or maybe just the acknowledgement that I felt like a burden was enough. We can put a lot of expectations on our creative projects to make us feel better about ourselves. And that's, externalizing your ego onto something because you feel like shit. So a great practice for that, kind of like what I talked about in the first one, is like this, what if this creative project never went anywhere? Or you can look at it in your own childhood of like, what kind of expectations did your parents put on you to make them feel better about themselves? It's not always easy identifying how and why you might be projecting onto your creative projects or anything else in your life. And just know that if you're having trouble maybe accepting something or just seeing something for what it is in the first place, you are definitely not alone. This is a long, difficult process that will, honestly, for me at least, naturally unfolded, and I got the book or I got the teacher or I got the lesson when I was ready for it. So don't be hard on yourself if you haven't figured everything out quick enough, or if it's not working like how you expected it to. Just know I'm in the same boat as you. You're definitely not alone. Thank you so much for watching.